Good morning, everybody. The final episode in this epic story, this epic tale of David versus Goliath. You know that expression. It's often used in a situation where you've got the small guy up against the big guy. It can be a small business up against the big corporates. And people will say, yeah, it's a real David and Goliath situation. It's kind of the underdog against the big dog, the little guy up against the bully. And we know the background, we know the story of David, we can understand that. But you know, if you look at that story, nothing could be further from the truth, as seen from David's perspective, that he imagined himself to be the underdog. Now think about that. I mean, the way everybody looked at it, I think, whoa, you know, old Goliath is going to make mincemeat of David. But not David. Not David. He didn't see himself as the underdog. In fact, he probably, and I'm pretty sure he did, think of himself as having the upper hand. So he goes out onto this battlefield, and there's this huge guy, cumbersome, with all this weaponry, you know. He looked intimidating, but David had space. He had nimbleness of foot. He was quick. He had the bare minimum, just a sling, 5 stones, and a huge faith in God. He had the upper hand. He had the distance. He didn't have to take Goliath on Goliath's terms. He was going to dictate the rules of the battle. The battle belonged to David. He was going to dictate the pace. So he never went close in, so that Goliath never had an opportunity of striking. He would duck and dive and be well away all the while, just biding his time, watching, like a boxer. Maybe that's not the right word, but David had his distance. He knew his sling. He knew he could have killed any lion or bear that attacked his father's flock, for which he, young David, was responsible. He knew the type of enemy he was dealing with. David knew that his faith in God and his skill of hand and his tactical ability gave him, David, the upper hand. He was no underdog. And let me tell you, Jesus has died for you. You are no underdog. Jesus lives by his Spirit within you. You are no underdog. You may be living on your own, but in the name of the living God, you have the upper hand. Because he lives, we can face tomorrow. Because he lives, we can look the giants in the eyeball and say, "Get behind me, Satan. Get behind me." David versus Goliath. Be strong and very courageous. Remember that, and never forget the story of David against Goliath. God be with you.